Welcome back to season 2, episode 1 of Be Bolder. As you can see, we're making some changes and improvements here. We're adding video to all of our interviews and my chats and putting that out on YouTube. So please go and check that out and follow that. And if you're interested in kind of putting names and faces together as we start to think about and talk to some of these guests, totally a great way to do that and to follow up with them and follow them as well if you find that the spirit so moves you. So as I mentioned in our little teaser videos, this season is going to be a little bit of a shorter season, but we're going to be acutely focused on transition, change, some of the challenges that come from that and the messy bits of that, and then gracefully coming out the other side and being the best, boldest us that we can possibly be. And so the inspo, if you will, for this season really comes from my dearest dog, Ogie. So I mentioned last season very lightly because I really just couldn't talk about it or touch it. It just hurt too much. That Ogie, who is one of the dogs that I credit with saving my life a few years ago now, he passed away in February. He passed away at home. He passed away the way that he wanted it to go. He honored his mother's last wish to not have to take him in and make some tough choices. And man, that transition was shitty and hard. You know, like I felt like part of me was lost. I felt like part of me died. I felt like, man, I'm just never gonna have that again. And that's probably true. I'm never going to have something like that with Ogie again because there will never be another him. And I really had to sit with that for a long time and say, man, like this sucks and this hurts. And as you can see, it still hurts a little bit because, you know, I never wanted to admit like I'm going to have to face the world anew. I'm going to have to make some changes and decisions. And we all have to do that every day because you know, as some song lyrics go, life's about changing and nothing ever stays the same. And unfortunately, you know, life changed for me in February and I had to figure out how to navigate that and transition through that. And what I really saw, because normally I will rush through a transition. I think a lot of us do because we say, man, we're just going to fill a gap or we're going to fill a hole or we're going to do whatever. And we're just not going to feel the pain and we're not going to do the things that we need to do to honor the past so that we can go ahead and produce the best, most beautiful present and ultimately the best future. This time I was very slow and methodical about it. And I let the tears come in the grocery store, which was a shittier, harder thing this go round. Because we were still in masks for a long time. So I couldn't just pop my sunglasses on like I would have normally done, like a weirdo in the frozen food section of Whole Foods. And instead, I just had to like let it be. And I just had to accept like I was the weirdo crying in the center of Target. And that was going to be what it was going to be. But I say all that because I think, you know, first things first is one of the first things we're going to talk about here is just transition. We rush transition so much because we're just wanting to get to the next thing. We're wanting to get to the next place. We're wanting to get to the next, whatever it is in our lives. And I get that. And I understand that. And we have to keep focused and we have to keep consistent. We have to keep pushing. But sometimes things also need to run their course and we need to be a little bit patient. And if any of you are listening out there who are like me, I am not patient at all, like with almost anything. And so that's a huge challenge for someone like me. And I can imagine it is for a lot of you out there too. But what I had to do is I just had to sort of let the change and the pain and all of those things filter through at their pace. And I did that and it was a struggle and every day got a little bit better. You know, it helped to stay busy. I'm not going to sit here and tell you stay in the pain as you're transitioning to your next thing. But on a positive note, you know, as it continued to lessen and whatever, I started to feel better and better and better, like we all do. Right. And, but I think then oftentimes, and self included, we get into a place where we got to start to let some of it go. And I read a most beautiful, simple quote, which just said, let it hurt, let it suck, and then you got to let it go. And I thought about that in a meditative state. I was in vinyasa yoga, and I was in vinyasa that was so deep, I didn't know that class was over for apparently a while, but thankfully they just let me sit there. But as I thought about, man, I've really let it hurt, and I've let some of this suck, and it really did suck, right? I mean, you're trying to wade through the world anew, right? And if any of you have lost anyone, my heart goes out to you with COVID or cancer or anything in the last, handful of years. It's been friggin' horrible, and it's been hard to grieve, and it's been hard to go through these things, and we feel pressure, and we feel pain, and we feel guilt, and we hold and we harbor all of that, and you just can't do it. You've got to transition out of it, and you've got to let it go. You've got to honor it. And then you've got to just send that out to the universe to say, you go where you need to go. Like, thank you for what you've done for me. Thank you for serving me. But in order for me to make room for new, beautiful things in my life, and not just me, any of us, if any of us need to make time and room and whatever for things in our lives, if you're already cluttered up and full, how can you squeeze anything else in there? You just can't. And so I had this revelation, and it seems so simple, but I let the transition be and be and be. And then I realized I was just sitting with the pain. And I think a lot of us do that, and we harbor it, and we hold on longer than we need to. And I recognized at that point in time in yoga, while I was meditating, I recognized that I had let it hurt, and it hurt. And I know a lot of us have been out there and we've felt something similar. And hopefully you're not going through it right now, but if you are, you're not alone. And then you just let it suck. And it does suck, and then comes a place where you've just got to let it go. And when I let it go, I promise you this, like, I actually felt a pop in my chest, and I was like, whew, like, and I will not lie to you, like, the rest of the day, I felt very vulnerable. I felt very uncomfortable. I felt very unhappy because I had this big void that I could feel. And I was like, shoot, like, this feels wrong. This feels whatever. I've got to fill this back up. And I know a lot of us have felt this way before too. And then a lot of times, unfortunately, we try to fill it with shit and garbage and drugs and alcohol and whatever else that, we try to cover up the pain. We take the pain, we bury it down deep. I said, no, I've just got to let this be. If my ask was to let it go, there's space there now, and we've got to make space. And when you're moving into the next thing in your life, you have to make space. You can't bring in new things into your life unless you have room for it. So you got to let that old shit go. You got to transition away from it and out of it. And so it was amazing because the universe delivered. And I promise you that if you just listen and just keep your ears open and your heart open a little bit, the universe will deliver for you. Because the very next day, as I was thinking about, like, man, like, I've really let some of this pain go. The very next day, the universe gave me two most beautiful pieces of information. One, again, I got named to the best lawyers in America list, which a lot of people get named to, but I was like, wow, that's still like an honor. It's very cool. Like, thank you. I've room and space for that, to think about that. It's gratitude. But I think the more significant thing is I had secretly applied to adopt a dog. And I found him on the internet. And I'm going to show him to you in a minute. But his name is Eugene. And Eugene was at a shelter group that I've rescued from before. And he has a little cleft lip. And so people just deemed him not good enough and not worthy enough. And so he was actually going to be euthanized because the breeder couldn't make money off of him. And so my rescue group brought him in, and they, saved him, and they bottle fed him. And I put in an application. I didn't even tell my husband that I did it, because I was just kind of hoping, like, maybe this is a good fit. And if it's not this, it's something better. And we're going to have a whole episode about that coming up. But I said, like, if this is meant to be, let it be. And that day, the rescue group called me and said, if you want him, he's yours. And so, like, what a beautiful way to know that I had let some of this pain go. And now I've got this new amazing thing. And this happens to all of us. We just have to be willing and ready to let and transition away from some of the things that have been hurting, so that we can be ready for the next most amazing, great thing in our lives. And so hold tight. I'm going to show you This is the little man who I believe Ogie sent to me. His name is Eugene. Eugene is a special guy. He continues to show me lots of amazing things about positivity, gratitude, joy, peace, happiness. And I wouldn't have room for any of those things if I hadn't transitioned away and let the pain go. So to summarize here, right, the first part of transition is being patient with it, letting things run their course when we've had changes in our jobs, in our lives, in our families, in our relationships, in our friendships, whatever it's going to be. Let that transition run its course. Honor the hurt. If it hurt, sometimes it hurts when we didn't get the job that we wanted. Sometimes it hurts when we get fired from the job that we loved. Sometimes it hurts when someone does something to us that's horrible, right? And we've got to honor that hurt. We've got to take accountability for the things that maybe we did wrong in that, but like also know that sometimes other people just suck and situations just suck. And we've got to then, once we get through the hurt, we've just got to continue to let the suck. And sometimes it's going to be shitty and sometimes it's going to be hard. But you just got to keep your head above water. And ultimately, in the words of Queen Elsa, you just gotta let it go, and then be prepared for the joy and the wonder and the wonderful things that come after that. So welcome back to this season of Be Bolder. I challenge you to start that transition to work through some of those things that are hurting you. Let them hurt, let them suck, let them go. And while you're doing it, don't forget, don't just be bold, be bolder.